What's going on, everybody? I'm Coach Stefan. I have Robert on here. Say what's up, Robert.
Hey.
So Robert is actually one of the longest clients that I've been working with online. Previously, before we rebranded to Pursuit, I started working with Robert. And so I'm just going to have him tell you guys just a little bit about where he was before he started working with me and Pursuit, and kind of like what his journey's been like. So Robert, I mean, like where were you kind of before you started working with us? Because you said you work with a couple different coaches, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a mixture of in-person and online coaches, and um, to me, it's like they were all good. Like I felt like, yeah, I have some sort of commitment here, and that they are giving me workouts. But the biggest hurdle I was working through is just like, okay, like, am I really getting the benefit of how much I'm paying into it in terms of, is this a really worthy investment of my time and energy? Because it did kind of feel like they were just sort of like going through the motions a lot and saying like, hey, like, let's do this workout today. And then especially with my online coach, it was very much like the exact same workout consistently for months on end. And it's just like, okay, I don't really see the value in this if you're just literally just going to program the same thing for me every week. And so it was for me a matter of skepticism around, if I do another online coach, is that going to be beneficial to me or helpful? Or is it just going to be some of the recurring struggles I've already been having where I don't feel like the coach is really that invested in this process, which is what brought me here. And yeah, certainly this has been much different. Otherwise, I would have left a long time ago.
Right.
It was very much, it became apparent very early on that you had the education and the background, and that you knew what you were talking about, and that you were most in tune about like, what did I need and what was I wanting, and also showing that level of investment and commitment towards, okay, how do we keep making it fresh and new, and how do we keep incentivizing me to keep going back to the gym and feeling like as though I'm getting a lot out of it. And the weekly progress reports and the weekly check-ins, and working through the diet, which was a huge thing that my previous coach did not do a good job on, in terms of not really holding any sort of accountability or really telling me what to do. He just sort of said, eat healthy food, compared to this where we break it down every week in terms of macros and what is that I need to prioritize every week to get to my goals. So it's honestly been night and day compared to my previous coaches that I've had.
Right. No, I appreciate that, man. And I think what it really comes down to, guys, is just, yes, level of education. Like, I've been doing this for a long time and experience, but just also the passion you put in. Like you're a business owner. So, it's like, does the person love what they do, or is it a paycheck for them? And, unfortunately with online coaching, and trust me, before I started this business, I was skeptical of online coaching because I trained in person for so many years, but there was a component that was really hard to deliver in person. And that is the accountability and the customization. Like, yeah. And, when you're in, and we do in person, but we do hybrid. I'm not going to dive into that too much, but like when you're in person, great. But like when you leave, you don't really have that sense of direction. You don't have like it broken down for you. I used to say the same things to my clients, like, all right, like, eat healthy, I'll see you next week. That's so such a broad like commandment, right? Like, go eat healthy. And so people weren't getting progress, to be honest with you. They're as good a progress as they should have for in-person training. And I still think it's a struggle. I think online coaching in general, not even including us, solves a lot of facets, but you can suck at being an online coach, or you could be really good at being an online coach. So what were some of the goals that you came in with? Do you remember? It's been a while, but.
Oh God, yeah, it has been a little bit for me. I mean, the diet was a huge thing. A big thing was just like, okay, how do I get the six-pack abs versus just going to work out every week? And how do I get to a level where I'm still feeling encouraged and motivated to do it? Because even though I am going to the gym, it did feel like a sense of stagnation of, I'm just repeating the same things a lot. And, am I going to get further to where I want compared to my previous coaches, where it's just like I felt like I had hit a wall, and it was like, okay, this is as far as I'm going to get probably with the previous setups I've been having.
Yeah. I mean, we see that a lot. And like, with Pursuit, we actually train quite a few current members right now that had online coaches. And I totally understand the skepticism. I think the number one complaint I hear is they weren't good communicators. You know, some people are archaic. They're like, yeah, I just check in once a week. They email me and I'm like, dude, what? You know, they're like, I'm paying a couple $100 a month. And I was like, they should have checked in on you weekly at least, you know, giving you some personability. It's hard because I think other companies try to grow and scale too big from a business standpoint. And so they can't make somebody not a number. Like they eventually have to treat clients like numbers, which is literally the business model that I was super against. And I'll never go towards it, to where you build your roster up and get so many people to where it has to be like that. And so, you know, we cap our rosters. We make sure that, you know, when we check in with our coaches, like it's a small team, right? So we want to be like, hey, are you good? Like, are you able to give your clients 100% service still? And if any of my coaches were like, man, I don't know, I'm getting busy. Cool. I'm going to hire another coach. Like I'd never, you know, ramp them up. And so I know with us, that's a huge thing. But with your journey, I remember you're like, man, I really want a six pack. Like, I don't know if I can get it. And then it's not just getting the six pack, but it's like keeping it, like without murdering yourself, right? Without like, oh, my life sucks. I have no social life. Like all I do is work out. And yeah, if you're trying to like step on stage and be 5% body fat, that's what you're going to get. But like, just to give you some insight, guys, Robert got a six pack, kept it, looked really good for months until just recently he's like, hey, I want to start a bulk. So this isn't just something to where you get a six pack and then you like a month later you lose it. Like if I have people ask me like, how do you have abs all year round? I really am not as strict as you guys may think. But once you understand, like you said, macros and nutrition and training and what type of training is going to elicit the most muscle growth and help you stay lean, it's not inherently too hard. And I will say, hands off to you. You're very, very diligent. Robert's super humble, but he's extremely diligent in tracking his food. He's very good about it. He's very good about getting his workouts, as he's a PhD student and owning a business and has a crazy life. So he's getting stuff done for sure. And that's definitely like our most successful clients are like Robert. Just being honest with you guys, they don't make excuses. They get stuff done because it's here. The knowledge is here, right? Like, would you agree that like all the tools that you would need to be successful are provided to you?
Yes, definitely. That and more. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And more. And then it's just like, and the thing too, guys, I totally understand that it can be very confusing to have so much information on the internet. How would you like, and I know you kind of mentioned that when you first came in, like, dude, there's like, I read this article or follow this influencer or YouTube. How do you feel like you were like then for your knowledge versus now? Do you feel like you're more capable of coaching yourself now?
I certainly do, but I think that's the way that you structured everything, to where it's not just like we're just throwing things at the wall. Where it's very much methodical. Things are set in place in terms of here's what you need to review. Here's how we're going to work right now on this current goal. And then if we need to switch goals up, we're going to talk about this is how the plan is moving forward, versus just giving me a whole bunch of information, me being overwhelmed and not knowing what to do with it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, how do you feel like because we do create, you know, custom programs, like how do you feel like your program is laid out for you? That's like part one. And then how do you feel about it as it progresses?
I mean, I certainly think that you always do a great job in terms of making it work with what my current schedule is, and me vocalize that, hey, this is the things I want to focus on right now. What do we need to do to change that? I have a very limited time window. And I feel like it's something that has always been, it's never been like an issue really. Like it's like, hey, this is what I want to focus on this week. And you've been very open to it and you've been checking in. I do think the weekly check-ins help a lot in terms of just like, you know, am I holding myself accountable, but also like, is this what I want at the moment? Versus like, am I conflicted? Do I want to talk about something to make sure that I'm on the right page? I do think that the personal component really does help me feel more incentivized and more motivated.
Yeah, I'm glad, man. And that's it. I think that's on, if I could say that one component's missing, and I said it's like personability and communication, it kind of goes in there. I think it is. I mean, like a good exercise science coach, right? Like, here's your program you're going to follow. It does take skill. It does take education. I'm not going to say it's not important, but like, if you've been coaching for a long time, you just know how to coach. Like it's hard. It is hard to take that experience and like sum it up. And I think really, if I could break it down, it's like the constant evaluation. And, I knew that this is what I needed to do when we went into online coaching, because this is what I do for myself, right? Like if I write myself a program, I'm asking myself every week, how do I feel? What do I have going on? I look at my calendar. I'm like, okay, when can I work out? What am I going to do? Like how is my results? I do my body scan. So why would I not want the same thing that I do to stay successful? Not the same program, but the same methods for the clients. And then when I started pursuing, I'm like, man, that's what we need. And so, just to give you guys a little bit of insight, like our clients like Robert, they have 24/7 access. You can ask me a question whenever he wants. We're usually pretty quick to respond. We have weekly check-ins, super in depth, where we're going over a form and we're giving him a personalized video response. So, Robert's always super good at being open on his form and saying his struggles or his wins or asking questions or wanting to know where he is. And the biggest thing, so I'll let you answer this. With the check-ins, like what's the biggest takeaway you get? Like, how does it help you in your program?
I think it really helps just me being a little bit more reflective around like I said, like, yes, I'm going through the motions, but am I really taking the time to be more mindful and aware about like, hey, this is what I'm feeling right now, and do I feel safe enough to communicate this is what I'm wanting, or this is what I have questions about, I'm curious about. I think that's been the big difference compared to my previous coaches in terms of just, like I said, doing what they're telling me to do, that there is more of a collaborative effort there.
Yeah. And you hit the nail on the head, collaborative. Like this is a two-way thing. It is a relationship, right? Like, and we call ourselves coaches versus trainers, because I think trainers, they train you, right? They're like, go do this. They're like telling you specifics, but they don't teach you. And that's why we say we're coaches, because we want to coach you, which means to us, like it's guided wisdom to where we eventually want you to be able to do it. And like Robert, I could tell you from being his coach, has become way more self-sufficient, right? It's not that I'm not guiding him, but like, I know he knows, things that he didn't when he first started. And it's the same thing with my other clients. He's like, hey, this piece of equipment wasn't available. I'm going to switch this out. And I'm like, that's what I would have done. You know what I mean? And that's the whole process, is because it's collaborative too. If he came up to me tomorrow and said, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore, I'd be like, okay, what's the reasons? I wouldn't just be like, okay, because as a coach, I want to be like, but why? Because he might have said, I don't want to bulk anymore. But in his mind, there's 10 other things of why, and I don't break that down. And so the weekly check-in, you're right, is super helpful, because I'm not just giving him a response and then that's it. I want a conversation. And we have, an open door policy. So if a client really want to get on Zoom with us or chat, I'm like, let's go, dude. Whatever you need. Like, and I think the thing too, what I've noticed with you is that it helps keep momentum. Like a lot can happen in a week when you're busy to anybody's life, and having that, like, all right, here we are. You're like, dang, it's Thursday again. Like it just, it kind of just keeps you on track. Right.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I do think that having the consistency really does help a lot, because like you said, sometimes like, oh, Thursday creeps up on you and it's easy to forget sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And guys, Robert, like I said, he's been with us, I think, for about a year and a half, maybe a little bit longer. And like last Black Friday, he signed up for a few years. So we have him forever, thankfully. But yeah, I mean, like, our program's designed, to be completely honest with you guys, is not a quick fix. So if that's what you're looking for, this isn't it. This is, this is a transformation. This is like a lifestyle change, because I hope, and I know that Robert has a lot of knowledge to probably, go off on his own in the future. And that's what I want, right? I want to make sure that you're comfortable and you're in a place where you're like, hey, I've learned a little bit more about macros. I kind of understand nutrition. I understand what it's like with my body cutting and bulking and doing different things in the gym. And you have, expert guidance along the way. So you're not just guessing. You're not just doing random stuff. Do you feel like before you joined, you spent a lot of time in your headspace, like thinking about exercise and nutrition and what to eat and what workouts? Like, did that take up a lot of your headspace?
Like I said, like I think the big thing before is just like, am I doing any of this right? You know, like yes, my previous coaches are telling me like, yeah, go do this workout. It's like I don't feel like this is quite doing it, or you know, what am I missing here? Or am I doing everything like right? Or am I missing a component? Or yeah, and if not, then how do I figure out what that missing component is?
Right, right. Do you feel like that caused you any like stress or anxiety? Yeah.
Yeah. Just, like I said, it's a big investment when you do, you know, any sort of coach. And it's just like, I want to make sure that there's a payoff for this. And I didn't feel that way with my previous coaches. So then that causes me anxiety and stress around, hey, what am I paying for basically beforehand?
Yeah. And you have a good experience because you've had other online coaches. You know, not
Yes.
not everybody that's seeing this is going to have online coaches, but whether you had one or you're not, that's a concern, right? Like most of the reason that I think people don't start is because they don't have the reassurance, right?
Yeah.
Like if you knew you could start a business and you knew how to do it and you knew you'd make money, more people would start businesses. But you know, so it's one of those things where it's like, hey, not only because you know I hear it from men a lot, like, I'll go do it on my own. I'm like, okay, but do you know if you're doing it right? You know, and honestly, like for headspace for me, before I, you know, became a coach and got educated, I was making it up as I went 100%. I looked pretty good. I'm not going to lie, but like I also had a lot of injuries and other not great things. And so I think that the thing too is getting somebody that you trust, right? Which is, you know, it's hard to find. I'll tell you guys right now, trust me. I'm marketed heavily by other types of coaches from other, like, you know, business coaches and marketing coaches and all these things. And it's hard to know who to trust. So I definitely understand where you're coming from. How do you feel like your experience was with like just building a relationship with your coach? And
Oh, I mean, I think, you know, I've always had a great relationship. And I think that became apparent pretty early on. I don't know quite what helped me recognize that, if it was the weekly check-ins or what, but it, like I said, there's just a level of personal connection that you and I have that's not present with my previous coaches. Whereas before it was kind of like more like a business and less like like I said, a collaboration, or as though like you said, I'm just a number in someone else's to-do list.
Right. And the thing too, and I appreciate that. And I would say that I hope and I stick to the values that we have of like, I don't want to, I want to become really friends with all my clients. I mean, I still have to be the coach, right? And give them direction and stuff. And I'm super honest and super open, and I don't really like fluff things up. I kind of tell how it is, but I care about my clients, and all of our other coaches are the same way, because we understand. And I just had a call today. I'm like, you're a person. Like Robert is Robert, and he has his own feelings and his own schedule and his own desires and his own fears. And so when you have a coach that says, well, just do this workout program and just eat this, and that's it, 1 out of 100 people are going to go do it, execute it, and stay to it, because they're not thinking of all the sub layers of what's going on. Is the gym intimidating to them? Do they not like it? Do they feel like they're making the progress they want? Are they happy with it? Is it causing them stress? Are the workouts too long? Are they too easy? Are they too hard? And so, you know, with Pursuit, guys, we have a lot of feedback within, you know, our coaching system, and then as well as to just have access to the phone, which is nice, because my business coach is the same way. He's like, yeah, whenever you want, just message me on here. I'm like, that's awesome. I don't have anything right now, but I like the feeling of being able to be like, you know, getting a question answered, right? Because there's a lot of information out there. And I know you, even if, you know, I'm your coach, you might be following, you know, other people. And I want that open availability where you're like, hey, I saw this. Is this legit? Right? Like just having that person there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I know I've asked you some questions about form and, you know, just want to check in on some macros and everything. So
yeah, for sure. So because we work with a lot of like medical professionals, first responders, you know, really, and yes, we work with those types of people because they're honestly, guys, like I have a passion for them, but because they're shift workers, their schedules are crazy and busy. So you have an insane schedule and you're extremely busy. So what would you say to somebody that is maybe hesitation? Like I would, but like, man, I can't do it. Like, I'm so busy. I don't have time. Cause that's actually the number one excuse I hear from people not joining. Like, oh, when the holidays, when I have time, when my life's not as busy. Like, what would you say to those people?
So a really good thing about the online coaching for sure is that you do have the flexibility of, hey, if I can't do it, if I were to go to the gym on a Tuesday at 6 and I can't necessarily make that full commitment, it's like, yeah, maybe I can't do it then, but I can do it that night or something. And so I think that there's value in that and the flexibility, but also just being able to talk with you and say like, hey, this is my schedule. What can we do to get me to where I want to be, while also recognizing that it might require some flexibility. And, maybe I can't do Wednesdays this week, and then in a few weeks down the road, it's going to be Thursdays I can't do. And it's always been great to work with you in terms of, hey, I will adjust the workout schedule as needed to make it fit whatever is going to work with your current lifestyle.
Right. Overall, do you feel like that's helped you be more consistent?
I mean, definitely, yeah. Because like I said, like it's kind of on a little bit on my time, and you do the check-ins to make sure that I still follow through on it. But there is something to, like, I'm not feeling as much pressure to do it within a very, very limited time window.
Yeah. Right. And I thought, like, I've told you this before, like, this is your program. You tell me, I'll tell you, this will get you the best results scientifically. And there's more wiggle room than you guys think. Like, you don't have to work out Monday through Friday and do these specific splits. Like, there's a lot of different ways to gain muscle and be lean. And so, when I give it to Robert, it's always like, hey, try this out for a week. How is it? He's like, it's fine. I'm like, okay, cool. We'll keep going with it. Like, how's your progress going? I feel like I'm still getting stronger. Okay, so let's not end the phase. Let's extend it. So it is very collaborative. I need the feedback to be a good coach, right? And Robert's an excellent communicator, always does his check-ins, and that's part of the reason I think you've been super successful, honestly. Like, yes, you make the sacrifices. Yes, you go to the gym, you do all this stuff. It's all, that's you. I can't do that for you, right. But you've been a really good communicator. So I think you've made it so the schedule is going to work for you, or the workouts are going to work for you, because like, we're the experts and I just need feedback because I don't know what to do if I don't have the information. But it's really like, and we've seen other clients in Pursuit, we make a really good team because it's like, hey, what do you need? And if they're open and they tell us, they get that. This is like kind of my coin term is like, this program, the only way it can't work is if you don't do it, because it is your program. Like, you're almost creating it, right? Like, you're not maybe creating the bones of it, but you're like, hey, I have access to this equipment. I can only work out for 50 minutes or whatever length it is. I could work out 4 days a week. I want to work out these days. So, you know what I mean? You're eliminating all the excuses. If I just said, here you go, Robert. And you're like, oh, I can't do that. It's too long. I don't have the equipment, which is kind of, I think, what the other coach is doing, right?
Yeah. It was just kind of like, have at it and figure it out on your own, kind of. And that, like I said, it wasn't too appealing, and it caused me to lose some of that motivation, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. Well, I really appreciate you getting on and kind of just doing this interview with me and telling people a little bit about your experience. Super helpful. Hopefully somebody's watching this. And like I said, busy PhD student, owns his own business, has a social life, extremely busy, still works out 4 days a week, still is, kept being pretty ripped for like 6 months, as long as he wanted to stay lean, looked good, felt better. So if you're kind of concerned about like not having time or not being able to make it work, this is a perfect example. And he's not the only busy person in our program, but like, Robert has also had a lot of success because he's executed on things properly. So
thank you.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, I appreciate you jumping on, and I'll be seeing you soon. Okay.
All right.
See you soon.